Hi everyone, welcome back to Pharmacology Classes by MSR. In this video, I am going to explain about tissue level organization. So the last topic of the first unit of your HAP is tissue level organization, which includes what is tissue, what is its classification, what is the structure, location and function of various tissues. So in the previous videos, we have seen what is cell, which is a basic structural and functional unit of the living being. So tissue is a group of cells which have common embryonic origin, which are having similar shape and which perform the similar functions. So this group of cells are combined together to form as a tissue. So these tissues will form the tissue level of organization, and group of tissues together they form the organ. So these tissues act as a intermediate or between the cells as well as the organs. Okay. So the study of this tissues is called as histology. Histology is nothing but the study of tissues. So tissues are of majorly four types: epithelial tissue or epithelium tissue, connective tissue, muscle tissue and nervous tissue. So let's start with the discussion of epithelial tissue. So epithelial tissue, as we have already discussed, anywhere tissue is a group of cells. So in epithelial tissue, the cells are very closely packed without any space between them. The space between the cells is called as intercellular space. Between cells, so intercellular space. So as the cells are very tightly packed, there are no intercellular spaces in the epithelial tissue. So epithelial tissue lies on the basement membrane and it covers most of our body, and the body surfaces which are exposed, so like skin and other cavities, are being lined by the epithelial tissue. Some of the organs which are being lined with the epithelial tissue are GI tract, urinary tract, blood vessels, heart chambers, uterus, etc. And if we found this epithelial tissue in the glands, we term it as glandular epithelium. As it is present in the glands, we term glandular epithelium. Moving on to the functions of epithelial tissue, which play a wider role of functions, which includes like sensory perception, excretion, filtration, few of the metabolic activities and removal of the waste like sweat through the skin, and they play an important role in the defense mechanism of our body by protecting our body organs from trauma and invasion of pathogens, toxins, excess of radiations, all this. And they also help for the secretion of gastric juice in the stomach, and also helps for the digestion of the food. To be whatever the food is digested, it will be absorbed with the help of this epithelial tissue, and it provides a mechanical strength and resistance for the underlying cells and tissues. It is involved in the movement of materials through the process of filtration, diffusion and secretion, and it is involved in the secretion of hormones, enzymes, mucus and other products from various glands, and helps in the transportation in the circulatory system. So based on the number of layers of the cells, we classify the epithelium tissue into two types: simple epithelium and stratified epithelium. As the name itself indicates, simple epithelium, as we are saying it is simple, so we have only single layer of cells. That is the reason we term it as simple epithelium. Whereas stratified epithelium is a tissue where we have more than one layer of the cells. So I guess you understand the difference. Simple we have a single layer, stratified epithelium have multiple layers of the cells. So the epithelium tissue, as we have discussed, it is of two types: simple epithelium and compound epithelium. Compound, by because saying it is having more number of layers, it can also be termed as stratified epithelium. So in the simple epithelium, again it is classified as simple squamous epithelium, simple cuboidal epithelium, simple columnar, simple ciliated and pseudostratified epithelium. Whereas the stratified epithelium is again of two types, which is keratinized and non-keratinized. Keratinized means they have a protein called as keratin. Non-keratinized, they don't have a protein called keratin. And transitional epithelium. So in this stratified, we can also have again stratified squamous, stratified cuboidal, stratified columnar, like that. So depending upon the number of layers, if it is a single, we call it as simple squamous. If it is multiple layers, we call it as stratified squamous. Okay. So here you can see the difference. If it is a single layer, it is simple squamous. If it is multiple layers, you call it as stratified squamous. Single layer, simple cuboidal. Multiple layers, stratified cuboidal. In the same way, a single layer of columnar cells, simple columnar. Multiple layers of columnar cells, stratified columnar. So you can see the images with the types of epithelial tissue. So as I have discussed, anywhere simple epithelium means they have a single layer. So squamous indicates presence of flat cells, flat shaped cells. So in a simple squamous epithelium, they have a single layer of flat cells. Usually they are present in the kidney, lungs and the linings of the heart, blood vessels, etc., which help for the process of filtration, diffusion of small molecules, etc. And the second one is simple cuboidal epithelium. As the name indicates, simple says single layer, cuboidal indicates cube shaped cells. So they have single layered cubical shaped cells which are usually present in the salivary glands, kidney tubules, ovary surfaces, and this helps for the process of secretion as well as absorption. Next type, simple columnar epithelium. So as the name indicates, again simple as a single layer, columnar means the columnar shaped cells, column shaped cells. So they have a single layer of column shaped cells which are present in our digestive tract, gallbladder, uterine tubes, etc., which helps for the process of absorption, secretion of the mucus and some other enzymes. Moving on to the next one, pseudo-stratified columnar epithelium. Anywhere we are saying it as pseudo-stratified. So it is not actually stratified, but it appears to be stratified, multiple layers. Why it is appearing as multiple layers? Because a single layer of cells are arranged, but those cells are of different heights. For example, one column is of 2 centimeters. The other cell having a column shape of 4 centimeters. The other cell, all are column shaped cells, but the height of this column is varying. That is the reason they appear as multiple layers. So that is the reason we term it as pseudo-stratified columnar epithelial tissue. So this type of pseudo-stratified cells are present in the tissues which are carrying the sperms and the ducts of larger glands, upper respiratory tract, which help for the process of secretion, propulsion of the mucus by the ciliary action, etc. So next type is compound or stratified squamous epithelium. So stratified indicates multiple layers, and as we have discussed previously, squamous indicates the flat cells. So multiple layers of flat cells are present in this particular tissue, and this tissue is present in the linings of esophagus, mouth and epidermis of the skin, which is helping for the protection of the underlying tissues. So the next one is stratified cuboidal. So stratified multiple layers, cuboidal cube shaped cells. So we have multi layers of cube shaped cells. Usually this is present in the sweat glands, salivary glands, which protect the glands. And next one is the stratified columnar epithelium. So the same, stratified indicates multiple layers, columnar epithelium, so they have column shaped cells. So they have multi-layered column shaped cells usually present in the parts of pharynx, uterus, vas deferens, and they function for the secretion and protective. And the last one is transitional epithelium. Transitional, that the shape is being changing, not a single shape. They have a shape between the flat shape to cuboidal shape. So from flat cells to cube shaped. That is the reason we are calling it as transitional type. So as you move from down layers to the upper layers, the shape of the cells may be like from flat cells to the cube shaped cells. So that is the reason we term it as transitional epithelium, and usually it is present in the ureters, urinary bladder, urethra, and they help for the degree of distension. Moving on to the next one, ciliated epithelium. So the column shaped cells will have the hair like structures which is called as cilia. So this cilia will have the microtubules inside the plasma membrane, so that they form the free border of the columnar cells, and this hair like structures help for the movement of the contents of any tube. For example, if they are present in the respiratory tube, they help for the passage of the mucus. If they are present in the uterine tubes, they help for the movement of the ova towards the uterus. So these hair like structures are helping for the movement of the contents of that particular tube. Example, as I told, it is present in the uterine tubes which help for the movement of ova. In the respiratory tract, they help for the movement of mucus, etc. Next one is stratified keratinized and non-keratinized cells. So the difference between this keratinized and non-keratinized cells is nothing but the keratinized tissues will have a layer of protein called as keratin on their surface, whereas non-keratinized they don't have this keratin on their surface area. So because of the presence of this keratin, so it forms as a protective layer on the particular tissue and it prevents it from drying, and the surface layer of the skin is rubbed off and replaced from below. Whereas non-keratinized cells, they are subjected to wear and tear. There is no protective layer of this particular keratin. Usually it is present in the lining of the mouth, pharynx, esophagus and vagina. Whereas the keratinized epithelium is present in the skin, hair and nails. So moving on to the next type of tissue, connective tissue. So we have seen that epithelial tissue, the cells are present very tightly. There is no space between them. But in connective tissue, the cells are very few cells are present and they are set far apart. So there exists some space between them, which is called as intercellular space. And in this particular intercellular space, there is a substance called intercellular substance, which is named as matrix. So this matrix will support the connective tissue, and they also contain the tissue fibers, connective tissue fibers, and the intercellular substances, the connective tissue cells, fibers, they appear differently in different types of connective tissue. So there is a various types of connective tissues depending on the presence of the cells, fibers, and also the intercellular matrix. The general functions of connective tissue. As the name indicates, connective tissue. They help to connect various body organs and various cells of our body. That is the reason it is termed as connective tissue. So the first function of the connective tissue is it serves to connect and bind the cells and organs of our body. It is helping for the mechanical support of our body. It helps to store fat, minerals like calcium in the bones, etc. It exchanges the metabolites between the blood and tissues. It plays a major role in the wound healing and repair process. It's a medium for exchange of nutrients and waste products. It helps to store the energy and thermal insulation to regulate our body temperature. And in the defense mechanism, like it acts as a barrier, it engulfs the bacteria, and it produces the antibodies. So all these are the functions of the connective tissue. Classification of connective tissue. So loose connective tissue, dense connective tissue, cartilage, bone and other liquid connective tissues. So in loose connective tissue, again it is subclassified as areolar connective tissue, adipose connective tissue and reticular connective tissue. The next one, dense connective tissue, dense regular, dense irregular and elastic connective tissue. Cartilage it is also again subclassified as hyaline cartilage, fibrocartilage and elastic cartilage. Bone, it is a mineralized connective tissue, and other liquid connective tissues includes the blood and lymph. So the first type of loose connective tissue is areolar connective tissue. So as we are terming it as loose connective tissue, they have a loose network of the intercellular material. So it is under the class of loose connective tissue. It consists of collagen, elastic fibers and reticular fibers and several different kinds of cells. And where it is present, what is the location? This areolar connective tissue is present below the skin. It fills the spaces between the muscles and it supports the blood vessels and nerves in the alimentary tract. Moving on to the functions, it gives the strength, elasticity and support to the tissue. The next one is adipose connective tissue. Adipose tissues or the adipocytes are the one which are helping for the storage of fat. Adipocytes, the cells which are storing the fat are called as adipocytes, and the cells together, all the adipocytes together, they form the adipose connective tissue. So where it is present in the subcutaneous layers, deeper in the skin, around the heart and the kidneys. So fat can be of white fat or brown fat. Coming to the functions, they help to prevent the heat loss from the body. They act as a reservoir of energy. They give proper shape to the limbs and of our body. And it protects our underlying organs from injury because they are covering that particular organs with fat. So fat prevents the mechanical injury to that particular organs. Reticular connective tissue, as the name indicates, it is composed of reticular fibers and reticular cells, which helps to form a supportive framework in the liver, spleen, lymph nodes, red bone marrow. It is also found in the blood vessels and the muscles, and it functions to bind the smooth muscles, and it also filters and removes the microbes from the lymph node. The second type of connective tissue is dense connective tissue. So as we are saying dense, they have excess of the fibers which are densely packed, so it is termed as dense connective tissue. The fiber content will be very high, whereas the cell content will be low when compared to the loose connective tissue. This is of two types, dense regular and dense irregular. So dense regular, why we are calling it as regular is the collagen fibers are arranged in the parallel patterns and they provide strength to the tissue. And the fibroblast will appear in rows between the fibers. It is very tough in nature as we are arranging a unique pattern of parallel lines. We call it as dense regular connective tissue, and usually it is present in the location like it forms the tendons and ligaments. Tendons are the one which are helping to attach the muscle to the bone, whereas ligaments are the one which are attaching bone to bone. So which is helping for bone to bone attachment are ligaments, bone to muscle attachment are tendons. So they provide strong attachment to the particular structures. The next one, dense irregular, as the name indicates, the collagen fibers are irregularly arranged and the fibroblasts will appear between these rows. And usually the location of this irregular connective tissue is, it is present in the dermis of the skin, the membrane capsules around the kidneys, liver, testes, lymph node, and also the heart walls. Coming to the functions, it provides a strength to different organs. The next dense connective tissue is elastic tissue. So it consists of freely branches of elastic fibers. The fibroblasts are present between these fibers. It is yellowish in color and it is usually present in the arteries, trachea, bronchial tubes and vocal cords. And it helps for the stretching of various organs. As it is elastic connective tissue, it helps for the stretching of various organs. So the slides may be looking lengthy because I want to give you the complete notes along with the topic with my explanation so that you can read from these slides and make off your notes. So that is the reason I have included all the points so that you can read from that. So cartilages, there are of three types: hyaline cartilage, fibrocartilage and elastic cartilage. So these cartilages are made up of collagen fibers and the elastic fibers. The mature cells of the cartilages are called as chondrocytes. Moving on to the first type of cartilage, hyaline cartilage. So it is bluish white in color. It is made up of the collagen fibers and the chondrocytes. Usually it is present in the end of long bones or the anterior parts of the ribs, nose, parts of larynx, trachea, bronchi and bronchial tubes. And the function of this particular hyaline cartilage is they help for the movement, the joints, they help for the flexibility and support of that particular organ. And the next one is fibrocartilage. It is the strongest form of the cartilage. So the chondrocytes are scattered in the collagen fibers within the extracellular matrix, and the location where this present is in the intervertebral disc. This particular fibrocartilage is present. It covers and protects the bony surfaces of the body. And the last one is elastic cartilage. As the name indicates, it is made up of chondrocytes with elastic fibers within the extracellular matrix. It is present in the pin of the ear and top of larynx. It provides the strength, elasticity and maintains the shape of that particular organ, especially in the ears. The next connective tissue is bone. So bone, blood and lymph are also the connective tissues, whereas blood and lymph are termed as liquid connective tissues, whereas bone is a mineral connective tissue because it contains the minerals in that. So bone, it has various minerals like calcium, phosphate, etc. So we term it as mineral connective tissue. So it gives strength and rigidity. So bone is of classified as two types: spongy bone and compact bone. Compact bone is spongy and dense appearance, whereas the spongy bone is also called as cancellous bone, which is present in the inner bone and it is spongy and it have fine honeycomb appearance. The next type of tissue is muscle tissue. So let's start with the muscle tissue. So muscle tissue, they have specialized contractile cells. Basically, there are of three types: skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, and cardiac muscle. So the general functions of the muscle tissue is they produce a movement. They are highly specialized to contract or shorten themselves and to elongate, as they have contractile cells in them. Moving on to the first type of skeletal muscle. So this skeletal muscle is also termed as striated, stripped, or voluntary muscle, because we have voluntary movement with of these skeletal muscles. So they are under conscious control, so we term it as voluntary, and they form the muscular system. They attaches to the bones. They are cylindrical, striated, and multinucleated cells. So to understand various muscle fibers and the covering sheets of this muscle tissue, let's assume a single rose which is covered by a sheet. It may be a polythene sheet or something. So here a single muscle fiber is covered by a layer which is called as endomysium. The endomysium is a connective tissue that covers single muscle fiber or a myofiber or muscle cell. The single cell is covered by a layer called as endomysium. Okay. So as to remember, I told you a single rose is covered by a cover. So if you are giving a single rose for someone which is covered. So like that, here also the muscle fiber, a single muscle cell is covered by a layer called as endomysium. Okay. Next, like if you are binding 2 to 3 roses and covering it with a layer. So you have 10 roses, you are covering 3 roses with a one sheet. So the sheet which is covering a group of group of muscle cells are covered by a layer which is called as perimysium. Okay, group of muscle cells which are covered by a layer. The bundle of muscle fibers are covered by a layer called as perimysium. And this bundle is called as fascicle. Okay, then for example, you have 10 roses. You are group like 9 roses. Okay, fine. So you are binding 3 roses and you are making it as bunches, and all those bunches are covered together by a single sheet. Okay, here also, as I told, a single fiber is covered by endomysium. Then we are covering 3 to 4 roses together, like muscle fibers are together formed as a bundle with perimysium. Now all those bundles are together covered by a layer called as epimysium. So the epimysium is a dense connective tissue which is surrounding the entire muscle tissue. So I hope you understood. So bunches of muscle fibers, bundles of fibers are together covered by a layer. The whole muscle tissue is covered by a layer called as epimysium. A single bunch which is covered by a layer is called perimysium, and this bundle is called as fascicle. A single muscle cell is covered by endomysium. Clear? Smooth muscles are almond in shape. They are usually located in the hollow organs or the visceral organs like stomach, intestine, and blood vessels. And these smooth muscles, they have a single nucleus, whereas the skeleton muscles, they are multinucleated. And smooth muscles, they are not under our control. They are not involuntary, so they are called as involuntary action. And smooth muscles helps to create pressure in various organs where they are lining. And smooth muscles are composed of sheets or strands of the smooth muscle cells, and they don't have any striations. The last type of muscle tissue is cardiac muscle tissue. So as the name suggests, cardiac, it is exclusively present only in the heart. So it is a semi-spindle shape which have muscle fibers which helps for the contraction and relaxation of the heart, which helps for the pumping of the blood. And the cardiac muscles are short in size. They have intercalated discs and they have striations. They have its own nucleus, and the cardiac muscles have excess number of mitochondria so that they give excess of energy for the functioning of the heart. and the muscle fibers are branched and interconnected. So I have listed out some of the differences between the muscle tissues like skeletal, cardiac and smooth muscle. So the striations are present in skeletal and cardiac, whereas the striations are absent in the smooth muscle. Only skeletal muscles are under our control, so they are voluntary, whereas cardiac and other visceral muscles, they are involuntary. Skeletal muscle have multinucleated, whereas cardiac and the visceral or smooth muscle have a central single nucleus. The function of the skeletal muscle is help for the movement and for the production of heat and to maintain the posture. Cardiac muscle, which helps to pump the blood continuously. Visceral muscles, which helps for the peristalsis, nothing but movement, maintaining the blood pressure, pupil size, to erect the hair, etc. And the move speed of the contraction is fast in the skeletal muscle, intermediate in cardiac, and slow in the smooth muscle. So this is about overall explanation about skeletal, cardiac and smooth muscle. The intercalated disc is only present in the cardiac because it is branched, and skeletal and smooth muscle don't have intercalated discs. The last type of tissue is nervous tissue, which play a major role in our body. So the nervous tissue is found in the brain, spinal cord and the nerves. The functional unit of a nervous system is neuron. Neuron is a functional unit of the nervous system, and the nervous system is one which is responsible for coordination and controlling of many body activities. So basically, nervous system is classified as central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central includes the brain and spinal cord. Peripheral is again classified as sympathetic, parasympathetic, which includes the cranial nerves, spinal nerves and all other organs. So the neurons are the functioning cells or the conducting cells in the nervous system, which are being supported by the cells called as neuroglial cells or the supporting cells. So there are different types of cells in the CNS and PNS which are helping for the functioning of nervous system. So within the CNS, the cells are oligodendrocytes, astrocytes and epidermal cells, microglia. Whereas in the PNS, in the peripheral nervous system, the cells include the Schwann cells and satellite cells. So this is the structure of a neuron with its parts and their function. So you can see the first part like dendrites, which receives the signals from other cells. Cell body is the one which organizes and keeps the cell function. The cell membrane which protects the cell. Axon hillock which generate the impulses in the neuron. Nodes of Ranvier which allows the diffusion of ions. Schwann cells which produces the myelin sheet. Axon terminals, they form the junction with other cells. The myelin sheet which increases the speed of the signal. Axon which transfers the signal to other cells and other organs, and the nucleus which controls the entire neuron. So this is about different parts of a neuron with their functions. So here you can see again various parts of a neuron, and in this image, animated image, you can see how the neurons are interconnected and how the impulse is being transferred from one neuron to the other neuron clearly. So as we have discussed various cells of CNS and PNS which are helping for the nervous system. The first one are oligodendrocytes, which helps in the production of myelin sheet in the central nervous system. A single cell wrap with several axons which form the nodes of Ranvier. And the next one is astrocytes. They are present at the pedicels which binds to the capillaries and to the pia mater from the glial cells. So this astrocytes controls the ionic and chemical environment in the neurons. They help for the energy metabolism and they form the cellular scar tissue, and they help for the formation of the blood-brain barrier, which is a barrier between our brain and the peripheral blood capillaries. And the next one are ependymal cells. They have low columnar ciliated epithelial cells. So if you remember, we told that ciliated epithelium is helping for the movement. So here these ependymal cells have this ciliated epithelium, so which helps for the movement of the CSF, cerebrospinal fluid, and it is also present in the lines of the ventricles of brain, spinal cord and choroid plexus. They help for the formation of cerebrospinal fluid and their movement. And the last cells of the CNS includes the microglia. These microglial cells are scattered in the CNS, which helps for cleaning the debris. They protect the CNS from virus and other microorganisms. Moving on to the cells of the PNS, Schwann cells and satellite cells. Schwann cells, they surround the axons in the PNS, which create the neurolemma around them. So this neurolemma will allow for the potential regeneration of damaged axons. And they also create the myelin sheets around the axons of PNS. And the next cells are satellite cells. They support the cell bodies of the neurons within the ganglia of PNS. So this is about various cells in the CNS, PNS with their role. Moving on to the functions of nervous system. The first function is sensory input. So any sensation that we feel, any change, it may be change in temperature we feel, whatever it is, whatever we sense, something change in the normal, that is called as stimuli. So any change inside or outside of our body is identified, and this is called as sensation. The sensory input is done by the nervous system. And the next one is integration. So whatever change we are identified, that is being integrated by our brain, our nervous system. We are processing why so and so change has happened, what we should do to overcome this stimuli. That is integration. And the next one is motor output. The response that is generated in response to the stimuli. If something is changed to overcome or to do the normalization of that particular condition, what action we are doing, that is the motor output. Okay.